AI never sleeps, and this week has been absolutely insane. We have not one, not two, but 4 new AI video models. This is now the best open source 3D model generator you can use. Look how detailed and accurate this is. Xiaomi releases what is now the best open source model you can use. It even beats DeepSeek and Kimikatsu Thinking, and it even rivals the top closed models out there. This is now the best AI for animating characters. It's so good at full body control, and it's free and open source. This AI allows you to generate videos offline in as little as 2 seconds using Alibaba's Yuan. This is like 100 to 200 times speed up, which is huge. Kling releases an open source image model, which is a totally different beast. We have a new open source 3D world generator, which you can interact with in real time. Speaking of real time, this open source AI can make talking avatar videos in real time. All you need to do is input a transcript and a photo of your character. This AI can turn any photo into a 3D or stereo image. Google releases another banger, Gemini 3 Flash, and a lot more. So let's jump right in. Thanks to Hubspot for sponsoring this video. First up, Tencent Hunyuan releases another banger this week. It's called Hunyuan World 1.5, and this can create interactive 3D worlds which you can move around in real time. So here are some examples for your reference. You can press the WASD or arrow keys to basically move around the scene, and notice that none of this is pre-designed or pre-built. This entire scene is generated on the fly as you move around, and it's doing this all in real time. Here's another example for your reference. Now, we've seen plenty of these 3D world generators before, but this one seems to be very good quality. A lot better quality than some other ones that we've seen in the past. Now, it's still not perfect. There's still a lot of noise and artifacts with the generation, but I mean, it's doing all of this in real time. So there's going to be some sacrifice in quality. Now, in addition to just first-person views, here are some examples of third-person videos where you are like following a character from behind. And it can also render this very well. As you can see, this can be easily applied to like video game design. And this technology, once it becomes efficient enough, I think this will be the future of video games, where we no longer have like worlds that are 100% pre-built. We can just have an AI model as the video game, and you can prompt it to generate whatever you want, and it can just generate any scene or any character on the fly in real time. Now, this doesn't just handle characters moving around. You can also add certain things in the video just with a prompt. So for example, you can add wood smoking, and it actually makes the wood smoke. Or here's another example where you can prompt it to darken the sky, and that's indeed what it does. And then you can also prompt something like castle catches fire, and that's what happens. Or here's another example where you can prompt it to have a distant explosion, and here's what you get. Notice that it's able to render this pretty much in real time. And if you compare this new Hunyuan World 1.5 with other competitors like Matrix Game or Gamecraft, which I've mentioned on my channel before, notice that on average, it outcompetes the rest of them across all these benchmarks for like reconstruction quality. The awesome thing is, if you scroll up to the top of the page, they've already released a GitHub repo and all the models. So if you click on this and you scroll down a bit, first of all, note that you do need a CUDA GPU with a minimum of 14 gigabytes of VRAM with offloading. But if you do have that, then here are all the instructions on how you can download and run this locally on your computer. You know, it's actually kind of crazy that it only requires 14 gigabytes. This is a real-time 3D world generator. Like previous competitor models are way more compute intensive. And then here are basically all the instructions on how to run and configure this. And it also looks like they're planning to open source the training code for this as well, which is fantastic. Anyways, all the links are up here, so if you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Next up, this AI is also very interesting. It's called StereoSpace, and this can generate a 3D scene from a 2D image. More specifically, what this does is it takes a photo and it breaks it down into something like this, which you can view with 3D glasses. You know those ones in theaters which have like a red and green lens to it? That's what you can use to view photos like this. And if you view it through those glasses, then this scene actually looks 3D. So here are a few more examples for your reference. Now, in addition to converting this into these red and green photos, you can also just generate a stereo photo like this. So again, these are meant to be used in 3D glasses, where the left image should be viewed with the left lens, and then the right image should be used with the right lens. But what you can also do is just cross your eyes right now and try to merge both these photos together. And once you do that, you should be able to make out a 3D render of this scene. Here's another example for your reference. And apparently this new StereoSpace method on average outcompetes other 3D photo generators. As you can see from this table over here, the best values are highlighted in green. Notice that StereoSpace basically got the best values out of all these benchmarks. The awesome thing is they've released a free Hugging Face space for you to try this out. So here's what it looks like. Let's upload an input image. So I'm going to drag and drop this image onto here, and right now it's proceeding to create an anaglyph from my image. Alright, so here's what we get. Now in addition to an anaglyph, I can also generate a side-by-side view, which would give me this. They've already released the code to this. So if you click on this GitHub repo and you scroll down a bit, here it contains all the instructions on how to download and run this locally. It doesn't say the VRAM requirements here, but if I click on the Hugging Face repo, it seems like the total size of everything is 12 gigabytes. So you should be able to fit this comfortably within 12 gigabytes or even lower. Anyways, all the links are at the top here, so if you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Next up, this AI is super useful. It's called LongVie2, and this can generate what they call ultra long videos. Now, here's the thing. If you've been playing around with AI video generation, it doesn't matter if you're using open source models or closed proprietary models, most of them could only generate videos of up to 10 seconds max. So that's very limiting. What if you want to generate longer videos? Well, this one, LongVie2, can generate videos of up to 5 minutes long. So here are some examples for your reference. Now, of course, because these videos are minutes long, I'm actually going to fast forward this for a bit, but as you can see, even as the video goes on and on, there's no noticeable errors or inconsistencies. The scene remains very coherent across the entire generation. Here are some other examples for your reference. Even as I fast forward this to over a minute or 2 minutes, the scene still remains very coherent. And if you look at these benchmarks for long video quality and consistency, you can see that on average, this LongVie2 even outcompetes other competitor models. Now, if you scroll up to the top of the page, they have released a GitHub repo, and if you click into it, here it contains all the instructions on how you can actually download and run this on your computer. Notice that this does use WAN 14B as the base model, so you should be able to run this on a consumer-grade GPU with some offloading. Now, if I click on the model weights of this LongVie2, notice that the total size of both these models are 14 gigabytes in size, so keep that in mind. Anyways, if you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Next up, ZAI, which is the company behind one of the best open source models out there, GLM, they just released a real-time video generator this week. It's called RealVideo, and this can create videos of a person talking in real time based on what you type. So it basically combines text-to-speech with an avatar animation, and it can generate this all in real time, including lip sync and facial expressions that match what they're saying. Here are some examples. So here is where you would enter the text that you want the character to speak out. Here is where you would upload a reference image of your character, and then here is where you would upload the voice that you want to use.
Honest. That is rich coming from you. Let me tell you something, pal. Sometimes the truth is just another way of lying. I prefer to keep things flexible. It is called survival. Try it sometime.
The universe demands your struggle, meaning forged in fire, not comfort. Your potential screams to be unleashed. To lie flat is to betray your own magnificent spirit.
Now, here are some impressive achievements. So this system can generate videos in real time with a delay of only approximately 2 seconds. The awesome thing is, if you scroll up to the top of the page, they've already released a GitHub repo, and if you click into this and you scroll down a bit, notice that here they've already released the model for you to use. And then here it contains all the instructions on how to download and run this locally on your computer. Also note that this basically uses the best open source video model right now, WAN 2.2, plus the self-forcing technique, which accelerates the video generation even more. Anyways, all the links are up here, so if you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Also this week, Alibaba continues to cook. So the Qwen team just released Qwen Image Layered. This can basically take a single image, like what you see on the left, and split it into multiple editable layers, kind of like Photoshop layers. So each layer contains a different part of the image, for example, the background, or the person, or objects, text, etc. So you can edit one part without messing up the rest. So here's an example. You can take this poster and plug it through this AI to break it down into separate transparent layers like this, where we have the background and then the character and then the different text and designs in separate layers. And the advantage of this is you can then just take any individual layer and edit that however you want. For example, we can change the background to blue and it would only change this part while keeping the rest of the layers the same. So here's the final image. Or you can change the character to look something like this and it would only change the character while keeping the rest of the poster the same. You can also delete certain elements such as these extra lemons over here, or you can also resize individual elements such as this lemon over here. You can make it bigger like this. And it basically keeps, the rest of the image the same. And you can even choose like how many layers you want to split the image into. So for example, if you choose 3 layers, this is what you get. Or if you choose 8 layers, then it can be more surgical and break it down into these 8 layers. Now, the awesome thing is, as with most of the models from Qwen, they've open sourced this already. So here's the model on Hugging Face. Here it contains all the instructions on how to download and run this. However, note that everything is pretty large. Like the total size of everything is 60 gigabytes. If I just look at the Transformer model, this is like 40 gigabytes in size. So you'll need a high-end GPU to run this for now, but I'm sure because this is open source, the community is likely going to release some quantized or compressed versions of this in the future that can run on lower VRAM. Anyways, for now, if you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Also this week, Microsoft releases Trellis 2. This is currently one of the best open source 3D model generators you can use right now, and it's a huge upgrade from their previous version 1. Here are some insane examples for your reference. If we feed it this input image, here is the resulting 3D model that it can generate. Look at how crazy the details are. And note that this is just one image. It doesn't even know what the back of this character looks like, but it's able to guess and also generate everything very realistically. Or here's another example for your reference. Let's say we input this photo of this mecha character. Look how detailed and accurate this is. Here's another crazy example. Notice that it's really hard for a 3D model generator to create fur, but it actually pulled this off really well. I'm very impressed by this model. Here's another really tricky example of this backpack, but it's able to capture all the details and create a very accurate and realistic 3D render of this object. Even with something as simple as a pineapple like this, for previous 3D model generators, it's really hard for them to actually accurately capture all the details of this. But as you can see, Trellis 2 handles this beautifully. Here's another example of this mermaid. Again, a very tricky scene with a ton of different elements, including jellyfish floating around, and her hair is also super complicated, but it's able to render this very well. And note that this is just from one 2D photo. Now, the technical details behind this are actually quite interesting, so let's go over this really quickly. First of all, instead of using traditional meshes, Trellis 2 uses what are called O-voxels. These are like selective 3D pixels. In a simple sense, they only exist where geometry is actually needed. So it's not like filling up any empty space. And then there's one voxel that handles geometry, such as the shape of the object, and then another one that handles the material, or basically the appearance of the object, like the base color, or how metallic or reflective, or how transparent it is. And merging both the shape and the material, or basically the surface together, allows it to create some super realistic and accurate objects. Now, 3D model data is huge, so Trellis 2 also compresses this very efficiently using this sparse compression VAE. This basically shrinks the 3D data by like 16 times in each dimension. So a massive like 1024 resolution 3D object can be compressed down to only 9.6K tokens. Now, if you scroll up to the top of the page, the awesome thing is they've released a free Hugging Face space for you to try this out online. So if I click into this, here's what it looks like. Let's upload a reference image. I'm going to upload this fox, and then for the resolution, sure, let's select 1024. I'm going to just leave all the settings at default and then click generate. Now note that this takes around 38 seconds. And here is our result. I can also view like the normal estimation of this and the material properties and other intrinsic properties. Very cool. And then I can click on this to extract the GLB and basically download the 3D model. In addition to the free Hugging Face space, they've also already released a GitHub repo, which if you scroll down a bit, here it contains all the instructions on how to download and run this locally on your computer. Now this does require an NVIDIA GPU with at least 24 gigabytes of VRAM, but I'm sure because this is open source, there might be some quantized versions that can run on lower VRAM in the future. Anyways, all the links are up here, so if you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Next up, this tool is incredibly useful. It's called TurboDiffusion, and this can speed up your local video generation by 100 to 200 times. So if you've been running AI video generators locally, you're probably using either WAN 2.2 or WAN 2.1. Here's how fast this thing is. At least on a single RTX 5090, if you add this TurboDiffusion on top of your WAN workflow, you can basically speed it up by almost 200 times. And then here's the generation time. TurboDiffusion is the green bar, which you can barely see because it's so fast compared to just the regular WAN. So you can generate a 5-second video in as little as like 2 seconds. By the way, here's a comparison between just the regular WAN and adding TurboDiffusion into the workflow. At the top is an image to video example using WAN 14B, where we use the same starting frame of this cat on a surfboard. And then on the left is just a regular WAN workflow, and on the right is if you add TurboDiffusion into the workflow, which speeds it up by like 119 times. That means you can generate a 5-second video in only 35 seconds, which is incredibly fast. And notice that there's no like noticeable degradation in quality. The quality of both videos is very similar. Same with the video at the bottom. This is just text to video, and it's using the standard Sora prompt of this Tokyo lady. And as you can see, even after adding TurboDiffusion, which speeds up the generation by like 93 times, the quality is very similar. It's not like noticeably worse than the regular WAN video. Here are some other examples for your reference. On the right is TurboDiffusion. Note the huge difference in the generation time. And then here are some other image to video examples for your reference. I mean, this is going to be a game changer. Now, anyone with even low VRAM can generate videos way faster, whereas before it would take like hours to generate just a 5-second video with the regular WAN. Here are some text-to-video examples, and if you compare this with another accelerator called Fast Video, not only is TurboDiffusion even faster, but the quality is also a lot better. So for Fast Video, there are a lot of noticeable errors with the generation, but for TurboDiffusion, everything remains intact and consistent across the generation. Here are some other examples for your reference. Really quickly, here are the technical details behind TurboDiffusion. So it uses a combination of acceleration techniques. One is Sage Attention, which is a way to speed up the attention mechanism in neural networks. You're probably familiar with this already, but then they also use this SLA, or basically sparse linear attention, which reduces the amount of computation needed even further. And then they also use this RCM, which is used to basically skip a ton of steps to make the generation even faster without sacrificing much quality. So all these techniques together basically help make TurboDiffusion really fast and efficient. The awesome thing is they've released all the models already for different versions of WAN, and here it contains all the instructions on how to download and run this locally on your computer. And they've also released the training code to this as well, which is awesome. For now, you can only use this via this Python code, which is not really intuitive, but I'm sure because this is open source, it's going to be added to Comfy UI very soon. Anyways, all the links and info are on this page, so if you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. With all these new video generators popping left, right, and center, it can be really hard to keep track of everything. That's why I teamed up with Hubspot to create a simple, practical guide to everything you need to know for AI video called Find Your Best Fit AI Video Generator, a side-by-side comparison. Inside, I break down the current AI video landscape and include a quick cheat sheet to help you choose the right model for your specific needs. Then I go over the strengths and limitations of each of the top current models. I cover the specs of the model, like what resolution and duration it can generate, and all the places where you can access it. My favorite part is the sample prompts that I've included. They let you experiment with each model and see which one fits your needs. The key here is that there's no one model that can do everything. Each video generator has its own pros and cons, so it's important that you learn the nuances of them so you know how to effectively combine them together to make some really epic videos. You can download my guide completely for free using the link in the description below. This resource was made by Hubspot, the sponsor of this video. Here's another state-of-the-art AI that was released this week. If you're looking to animate characters in your video with ultimate control, then this one is currently the best AI you can use. It's called SCAIL, and basically you can take a reference photo of any character plus another reference video, and it would basically apply the movements of that video onto your new character. Now, we've had a ton of these tools before, like Qwen Animate, which is also really good, but in terms of full body movements and complex characters with different shapes and aspect ratios, then this new SCAIL one actually performs much better than Qwen Animate. Here's another example for your reference. It doesn't even have to be like a human-like character. You can even get this squirrel to dance like this human. So that's the advantage of SCAIL. It doesn't really matter what proportions your character has. It's able to apply the movements of a reference video onto your character very accurately. And yes, this also works with anime characters, as you can see from this example. Here's an even crazier demo of this person doing a spin kick, and it's able to apply this movement onto this new character very accurately, even though this is quite a tricky movement. And, the previous character animation tools are definitely not able to generate movement as consistent as this. And the awesome thing is you can even apply this to multiple characters in the video. So here's an example of that where we have two characters, and it's able to apply the movements onto these penguins very well. So here's how it works. It actually takes the video and extracts a 3D pose from the video, as you can see from the far left. This is different from just a 2D pose, which are used in competitor models. Now, of course, with this 3D pose, it's going to be a lot more accurate at actually detecting and rendering the pose in a 3D space. So if you compare SCAIL, which is on the upper right corner, with other competitors like Vase or Qwen Animate or Uni Animate, notice that SCAIL just performs a lot better and is a lot more consistent. This scene is especially tricky because, the legs might be mixed up as this woman spins around. So you can see for the other competitors, it often mixes up the legs, or sometimes the woman's front switches to her back. But for this new SCAIL, everything remains very consistent. Or here's another tricky example. Notice that this new SCAIL one contains the least amount of errors. For Qwen Animate, it's usually better with lip sync and animating expressions, but as soon as you get to do some complex full body movements, then it kind of falls apart. And this is where SCAIL does a lot better. Here's another even trickier example with multiple characters, and because SCAIL is able to detect the pose of these characters in a 3D space, it's able to understand their movements way better than the other competitors like Vase or Qwen Animate, which, as you can see, has a lot more noticeable errors. So with this new SCAIL tool, you can even generate a really nice looking and coherent fight scene of two characters. Anyways, there are a ton of examples on this page. In the interest of time, I'm not going to go over everything, but just note that SCAIL is currently the best open source tool you can use right now if you're looking to control the movement of a character using a reference video. The awesome thing is they've released everything already. So if you click on this GitHub repo and you scroll down a bit, here it contains all the instructions on how to download and run this locally on your computer. And note that it's already added to Comfy UI via this one video wrapper by Kijai. All the links are at the top here, so if you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Next up, this AI is pretty interesting. It's called V-RGBX, and this AI allows you to edit the intrinsic properties of videos. Specifically, this AI takes your input video and it breaks it down into 4 separate intrinsic properties: the albedo, normal, irradiance, and material. Now, what exactly do these 4 things even mean? First of all, albedo is like the base color of a surface. So for example, you can edit the albedo or the color of the wooden chairs in the foreground to yellow, and you can also change the wall to blue, and here's what you get. Notice that it only changes the color or albedo of these objects while keeping the rest of the scene the same. Or instead of albedo, you can also edit the normal of the scene. And the normal is basically the direction of the surfaces of everything in the video. So for example, you can add this flower pattern to the side of the sofa, and it's able to match the original lighting and blend in seamlessly with the scene. Now, in addition to albedo and normal, you can also edit the material properties of anything in a video. For example, if you make it into metal, then it's more reflective, or if you make it out of wood, then it's less reflective. So here, for example, we can make the chairs and the table less reflective like this. And then irradiance is basically like controlling the light in the scene. So for example, you can change the lighting of this original video, which is a colder color, to a much warmer yellow light like this, while keeping the rest of the scene consistent. Now, you don't have to just edit all 4 of these properties separately. So here's an example where you can edit both the albedo and the irradiance of the scene, and here's what you get. Or here's another example where you can edit both the normal and the irradiance of the scene. So notice that you're changing the sofa, plus you're also changing the lighting of this video. Now, if you scroll up to the top of the page, they have released a GitHub repo, but since this is from Adobe, it doesn't look like they've actually released anything yet. Here they say that on their to-do list, they are planning to open source the model weights, plus the inference code, plus the training codes to this, which is fantastic. Anyways, all the links and info are on this page, so if you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Also this week, one of the top AI video companies out there, Luma Labs, just released a new model called Ray 3 Modify. And this is really powerful. It basically takes an existing video and reshoots it in different styles or angles. Or you can also add visual effects or insert or replace anything. So for example, you can act out a scene yourself and then just reshoot the video with a prompt like this. Or here's another example where you can act out a fight scene with another person and then reshoot it into something like this. Or you can also easily take a video and change it however you want with a prompt. For example, you can change it to nighttime or winter or sunset, etc. Or you can also easily replace a character in an existing video by just uploading an image of your new character, and it's able to apply the character swap very seamlessly. So this is a super versatile tool, and it's actually very similar to Kling 01, which I mentioned last week. In fact, I think this is going to be the future of AI video. We're going to see more and more upcoming models with these features where we can just take an existing video and edit it however we want by dragging and dropping new elements or by prompting it with natural language, kind of like Nano Banana. And this completely removes the need for traditional video editing stuff like mocap or green screens or masking or manually applying the animations or VFX yourself. AI can just handle this automatically and seamlessly for you. Anyways, back to this new Ray 3 Modify. If you're interested in trying this out, I'll link to this in the description below. Now, since I mentioned Kling, they also released something really powerful this week. called motion control. This allows you to control the movement of any character using a reference video. So here are a few examples for your reference. So this works very similar to OneAnimate and some other body animation tools that I've gone over before. So this allows you to basically transfer the movement of a video to a new character. It's even able to handle complex actions, plus it's also able to get the hands and fingers and gestures correct, and it's able to do lip sync and expressions. And you can even upload up to 30 seconds of a reference video. So it's not like limited to just 5 to 10 seconds like other animation tools. Now, if you're interested in trying this out, once you log into Kling AI, it's just this new tab called Motion Control at the top here. So here is where you would upload a reference video, and here's where you would upload an image of a character to animate. Anyways, if you're interested in trying this out, I'll link to Kling in the description below. Now, Kling is not done cooking yet. So also this week, the team from Kling released this really fascinating image generator called SVG text-to-image. Now, to understand what this paper involves, first let me give you some background on how image generators work. The foundation behind all image generators is the diffusion model, where it first starts off with a latent image of noise like this. And at every step, it takes away some of that noise until it gives you the image you prompted. Now, actually, it doesn't generate the image in the visual dimension that you and I can see. Instead, the image is converted into this latent space first, which looks like this. If you've been playing around with workflows in Comfy UI, you'll know that we often need to import this VAE first to encode the image into latent space. And then after the AI generates the image through this K-sampler, we need to use the VAE again to decode the image back into visual space, which you and I can see. And the point of using this VAE to generate the image in latent space is that it's faster, cheaper, and more stable, without sacrificing much image quality. But here's the crazy thing. This week, Kling released a different beast. This model actually bypasses the need to work in latent space. There's actually no need for a VAE. Instead, this just generates the image in visual space that you and I can see. So it's a much more simplistic workflow, and the quality is actually very good. So here are some examples for your reference. Note that this is just experimental. It's kind of a prototype. The quality isn't as good as like the leading image models out there like Z-Image. But it's actually very impressive given that this workflow doesn't even use a VAE. And if you compare this new model with all the other competitive image generators out there, it's not like the best in terms of overall quality, but it's pretty close. Like, it's better than Flux One Dev or SD3 or SDXL. And notice that, again, this is in a class of its own. This is a completely different model architecture that does not require a VAE. Now, the awesome thing is they've open sourced the entire pipeline, including the models, as well as how to install and run this locally on your computer, but also the code for data preparation and training. All the info is on this page, so if you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Now, we're not done with AI video yet, so this week, Alibaba also released their latest video generator, Qwen 2.6. Now, this generates video with audio up to 1080p in resolution. It has pretty good lip sync, and you can even generate multi-shot videos with smooth transitions up to 15 seconds long. Now, this is just a very marginal upgrade from Qwen 2.5, which kind of does the same thing, but a new feature of Qwen 2.6 is that they've added reference to video, where instead of just uploading an image of a character, you can upload a reference video of a character like this, and then Qwen 2.6 can generate a new video of this character. So here's an example, or here's another example. Now, honestly, because 2.6 is just a very marginal upgrade, it's not really impressive to me. Honestly, there's still a lot of noise and errors with these generations, and this is closed source, so there's no indication whether they will actually open source Qwen 2.6. So assuming this is closed source, then it's not even as good as the best closed models out there like Veo or Sora 2. But anyways, if you are interested in trying this out, you can do so for free in Qwen's native platform, which is just Qwen.video. You can click on here to generate a video, and you get free credits to start. Anyways, if you're interested in trying this out, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Now, what I think is actually way better than 1.2.6 is actually ByteDance's Seedance 1.5 Pro, which was also released this week. This also was able to create videos with audio. So here are some examples for your reference.
Get some work done. 한 번의 터치, 당당한 나의 색.
So as you can see, the quality and consistency of Seedance 1.5 Pro is actually really good. And if you compare all these different benchmarks, like aesthetics and motion and alignment, with other leading video generators like Kling 2.6 and Veo 3.1, you can see that overall Seedance, which is like the teal color, has the largest area. Same with over here in terms of these audio benchmarks, then Seedance 1.5 Pro is better than Kling and Veo 3.1. So anyways, those are just some examples for your reference, and you can try this out right now in the Streaming Up platform. So if you're interested, I'll link to this main announcement page in the description below. Alright, next up, if I ask you to name a Chinese tech company, I'm sure Xiaomi would probably come to mind for some of you. Now, they've been pretty silent in the AI space so far. Well, scratch that, because this week, Xiaomi just dropped a really powerful open source model called MiMo V2 Flash. This is designed to be ultra fast, efficient, and strong at reasoning agentic and coding tasks. So here's the crazy thing. If you look at all these benchmarks, and these are not like cherry-picked benchmarks, these are standard benchmarks that other AI models use, like SweBench Verified, or Tau, or AIME, which is competitive math, GPQA, which is like graduate level science questions, Humanities Last Exam, which is like very obscure scientific questions, and then Arena Hard, which is creative writing, you can see that MiMo V2 Flash performs very close to even the top proprietary models like Claude 4.5 and GPT-5. The crazy thing is MiMo V2 is actually relatively tiny. So this is a mixture of experts model with 309 billion parameters. Note that DeepSeek is more than double this size, and I would assume GPT-5 and Claude 4.5 are also like many times larger than this. And the crazy thing is, it doesn't use all of this at once. Only 15 billion parameters are active when you use it. So this makes it super fast and efficient. In fact, its performance on SweBench Verified, which is like agentic coding, this is actually the best performing open source model you can use. It even beats the latest version of DeepSeek and Kimi K2 Thinking, which is really impressive. Same with SweBench Multilingual. So if you're looking for the best open source AI model to use for agentic coding, then actually it's not DeepSeek or Kimi K2 or Minimax. Currently the best one is MiMo from Xiaomi. Here are some examples for your reference. You can get it to create a beautiful Mac OS simulation, and here's what you get. Or you can also create a solar system explorer like this, and this is also kind of interactive. And of course, you can also create a beautiful homepage like this. Now, like I said, they've open sourced everything. So here is the Hugging Face repo where you can go ahead and download this. So here are the models for you to choose from. And here are the instructions on how to run this locally on your computer. Now, because this is still a large model at over 300 billion parameters, the size of this is roughly 313 gigabytes. So it's not for like consumer GPUs. You'll still need a multi-GPU cluster or like a DGX Spark to run this. But nevertheless, this is among the top open source models you can use right now. So if you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Also this week, Google releases Gemini 3 Flash, and this is actually the best model you can use right now in terms of efficiency. So here are some benchmark scores for your reference. You can see that Gemini 3 Flash is like 4 times cheaper than Gemini 3 Pro, and it's only like slightly less performant. But for some of these benchmarks, it's still better than like Claude 4.5 or GPT 5.2. And like Gemini 3 Pro, the Flash version also excels at understanding and processing images, video and audio. This is multimodal, and it's also great at agentic coding. So for SweBench Verified, it got a whopping 78%. even higher than Gemini 3 Pro apparently. Now here's a comparison between Gemini 3 Flash and Gemini 2.5 Pro. If you look at the speed of this is like 3 times faster, but it also uses 30% fewer tokens compared with Gemini 2.5 Pro. And it's also much better at agentic coding, as you can see from these examples. So I mean, there's really no reason to use the previous 2.5 version anymore. You can just use Gemini 3 Flash for way cheaper and faster. And if you look at this leaderboard from Artificial Analysis, you can see that Gemini 3 Flash is actually ranked number 2, behind GPT 5.2 Extra High and Gemini 3 Pro, which are tied for number 1. So this even beats Claude Opus 4.5, plus this has a 1 million token context window, whereas Claude is like 5 times smaller. This is basically how much information you can fit into your prompt at once. The really important thing is if you look at the cost of this is way cheaper than the leading models, GPT 5.2, which is over here. This is like over 4 times more expensive, as well as Gemini 3 Pro, which is over here. So Gemini 3 Flash is currently the best bang for your buck. You can get like one of the most intelligent models. This is ranked number 2 overall, but for a fraction of the price of the other models. This is a very impressive achievement. Now here they say that Gemini 3 Flash is now the default model in the Gemini app, and this also is available in AI Studio. So if you click on the model dropdown, you should see this latest Gemini 3 Flash over here. Anyways, if you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Also this week, Chinese food delivery company Meituan continues to ship some really cool AI stuff. So they just released LongCat Video Avatar, and this is going to be the best open source tool you can use right now for generating talking or singing videos. So this takes in an audio clip of what you want the person to say, plus a photo of that character, plus a text prompt, and it would merge all these inputs together into a video. Here's an example. Now, it's not perfect, but it's even able to generate more extreme expressions like this evil laughter. Or here's another example.
I've been standing with you. I gave 18 years of my life to stand in the same spot as you.
I went with a film, an Australian film that was in the marketplace. So I got in to see The Ice Storm, and I'd borrowed a frock. It was it's such an extraordinary film.
It's actually able to capture some subtleties in the audio clip. There's some like mouth clicking sounds, and it's able to capture that very well. And she's moving super naturally. Her eyes are blinking, her face is moving. It's actually very good.
With no real witness. Mr. Willis's testimony is not only vague, it is unsubstantiated. The substance I was looking for, Mr. Sims, was to come from you.
Notice that in the audio, there are some breathing sounds, and it's also able to make this character inhale during these breathing sounds. Everything looks super seamless and natural.
I didn't know until the day you turned up alive. And then all this happened. I haven't told Danny.
Now, this doesn't just have to do talking. This can also do singing like this.
Every doubt fades when the lights turn red. We scream our truth with the words unsaid. Oh, hands in the air.
Lights blurred through tired eyes. Walking home with the moon as my guide. No applause when I follow stand.
And this doesn't have to just do humans, so you can also do other characters like this.
You drop the ball to catch a breath.
So with this tool, you can easily create like music videos or influencer videos like this.
Vitamin C and hyaluronic acid, just 2 drops every morning gives you that 8 hours of sleep look.
You felt truly free. With EasyTrip, your dream vacation is closer than you think. We compare thousands of flights and hotels to find you the lowest prices guaranteed.
The awesome thing is they've released the code to this already. So here's the GitHub repo, and note that here it says they've released this LongCat video avatar this week. So here are the links to the inference code as well as the model weights. And then here it contains all the instructions on how to download and run this locally on your computer. Anyways, if you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Also this week, Black Forest Labs releases their best image model yet, Flux 2 Max. Now this is pretty good. Here are some examples of its generations. You can also do some nice posters and graphics. Everything is very realistic and high quality, as you can see here. However, it's still not at the level of Nano Banana Pro, which is really good, and unfortunately, on the day that they released this, OpenAI also released GPT Image 1.5, which is even better. So, I kind of feel sorry for Flux because, a few weeks ago when they first released Flux 2, it was kind of overshadowed by Z-Image by Alibaba, which was open source and way cheaper. And then this week they released Flux 2 Max, but on the same day, OpenAI releases their image model, which is even better. So, there's really no reason to use Flux 2 at all. So, if you look at this independent leaderboard by Artificial Analysis, Flux 2 Max is pretty good, but it's only ranked number 3 below Nano Banana Pro and OpenAI's GPT Image 1.5. And then same with image editing, you can see that Flux 2 Max is number 3, plus it's even more expensive than number 2 and number 1. So there's really no point in using Flux. But if you are interested in reading further, I'll link to their announcement page in the description below. Now, while we're on the topic of GPT image, this model is actually very good. It's definitely among the best out there. I would say it's not as good as Nano Banana Pro, but at least according to this leaderboard, it's actually better. But definitely give it a try yourself. You get like a dozen free generations on ChatGPT, whereas for Nano Banana Pro, you only get like 2 or 3 generations on the Gemini app for free if you're on the free plan. So OpenAI is actually way more generous. Now, I already did a full review on GPT Image 1.5, comparing it with Nano Banana Pro. So definitely check out this video to get a good sense of what it can and cannot do. I'll link to it in the description below. Next up, this AI is super cool. It's called EgoEdit, and this can take a video shot from a third-person perspective, so for example on the left, and then convert that video into a first-person shot, as if it was seen from the person's own perspective. This is called an egocentric video, and this AI is basically able to generate this. Or here's another example where on the left is the original video and on the right is this new egocentric video generated from the perspective of the woman. How cool is that? Or here's another example where we can regenerate this video from the perspective of the Hulk. Here's an even crazier example where we can regenerate this table tennis match from the perspective of a certain player. Now there are a ton of noticeable errors with this generation, so it's not perfect, but it's still pretty cool that we have an AI that's able to kind of guess and generate what this scene would look like from an egocentric point of view. Here are some examples where the middle column is the ground truth. This is what the egocentric video actually looks like in real life. And then on the right is the video generated by this AI. And as you can see, it's actually very similar to the ground truth. Instead of soccer, here's a basketball example, and again, the AI-generated video, which is on the right, is actually quite similar to the ground truth. Here's another example for your reference. It's pretty crazy how the AI was able to extrapolate so much data from just one original video. And again, it's very similar to the ground truth. Really quickly, here's how it works. It first converts your input video into this 3D point cloud space to understand the scene in 3D. And it also guesses this ego trajectory, which is like how the person moves from their perspective. And then it combines both of these through a video diffusion model to basically generate this egocentric video. Now, if you scroll up to the top of the page, they have released a GitHub repo. And if you click into it, it says that they will release the inference code and the model weights by this week, which is fantastic. They're also planning to release the training code and even the data preprocessing code by the end of this month. Anyways, if you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. And that sums up all the highlights in AI this week. Let me know in the comments what you think of all of this. Which piece of news was your favorite, and which tool are you most looking forward to trying out? As always, I will be on the lookout for the top AI news and tools to share with you. So if you enjoyed this video, remember to like, share, subscribe, and stay tuned for more content. Also, there's just so much happening in the world of AI every week. I can't possibly cover everything on my YouTube channel. So to really stay up to date with all that's going on in AI, be sure to subscribe to my free weekly newsletter. The link to that will be in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.